Off-roading. Efficiency. Powerful. Unique. Waterproof. This electric minibike checks all those boxes. Let this take you for a ride of your life.
Who was that? Antonio Banderas? Let's take a look at this mini bike more in detail right now. All right, so here's the electric mini bike. 88.2 volts, 60 amp hour, LG chem cells in here from a Chevy Bolt, and I think a couple other cars. I had these already extra in my blue dirt bike. Got a sine wave controller in the front, nicely tucked in there for airflow. Got a jack shaft system here to get the right gear ratio. And if you flip around, you have the other sprocket here that drives the wheel. And I can change this gear ratio. Right now it's at 8:1 and it goes about 42 miles an hour in about 3 seconds. Very fast. I can change this gear ratio, so I'll be say 5:1 and I believe it'll go 55 miles an hour. I'll do that data later. This is an adjustable plate I made for the motor, so this could slide back and forth, and then it has an engine mount stop bolt here, so you could stop it from moving. And then I put one bolt in for security so it won't move at all, and then you can take this out if you need to adjust stuff again. 19 by 7 tires here, V-tread. Everything's carbon fiber sleeved, everything here. Made a display, custom display, and I have a key here with a pre-charge. This plugs in and everything's active. This turns on. This will tell you everything you know. There's a shunt built into the battery, so the current has to read through the shunt, and it comes right here to the display, and it will tell you everything: your volts, your actual amps, your amp hours, your percentage, and so forth. Your kill switch to the controller, on and off, and your light switch, which there is a actual light on here. And the best thing, this mini bike is 100% waterproof. Let me show you. Go ahead. All right, check that out. Done. So now it's ready for the swamps, the mud, the water, just like a mini bike was made. That's what these things are for. Going in places where no man can go.
So what you got here?
Yeah, that's just your rear, front, and then when you twist that, it's gonna go. So go nice and gentle.
Okay, so it's on?
Yeah, it's on. You just gotta go gentle, yeah. It looks nice when you turn that corner.
It has good balance, man.
Yeah, it's actually,
really
it
good.
feels
Like
perfectly, huh?
Yeah.
Because the weight's all right in the center right there.
It's short.
Because the battery is heavy as hell, but it's right in the right spot, you know? So what I was gonna do is put a 12-tooth sprocket here, because it's a little bit too low end. It could have a more kick. Yeah, it's still fun, huh? Like, it's still fun.
It feels like you don't have enough room right here to even go all the way with it.
Well,
down?
You can. I do it all the time because I'm crazy.
Down?
I'm crazy.
Oh, man. I've been in so many bad accidents.
No, I have too. Dude, that's the ATC.
Oof.
Oh man. Good, huh? Love it, love it. The thing is awesome. Jesus.
I love that instant power.
Yeah. So you could imagine in the off-roading world, that might be pretty useful, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is sweet.
All right, getting the mini bike assembled. So here's the mini bike chassis all put together. And what I'm gonna do is, to save some money and time, is the blue dirt bike over here. I took out the motors and controllers, and I'm gonna take one stack of batteries out. This bike was just a little bit too heavy, so to utilize the parts I have, I'm gonna use one motor, one controller, and put it over there, the mini bike, and then put back in one motor, one controller in the blue dirt bike. And then take out half of these stacks. So one stack will go into the mini bike and one stack will stay in this bike. So it'll be half the weight and it'll still have its working ability. All right, so here's the start. We're gonna make the controller, the sine wave controller now, mount with the heatsink facing forward, right in the front here. I made these little rabbit ears, or these little parts to weld to the frame. I already cut them and have them mounted right here, so I will just figure out where I need to grind off and I'll start welding. Just tack welding until I get the controller off to finish the weld. Making sure the sprocket is aligned with the small sprocket. All right, now that we got the drive chain to the wheel centered just where we want, the motor can move millimeters left and right just to get this lined up. So I got it just where I want the motor to sit so I can mount it. I'm gonna cut my spacer to get right there, and then I got my weldable sprocket. Shaved it just a little bit so it slides on, and this is perfectly aligned. So what I'll do is tack weld this on, cut off the shaft, and finish the weld. Yes, we could have used a belt system here, but the pulleys have to be custom made for that type of keyway and diameter. They're about $80 to get shipped here. And the worst thing is to get a rock and a belt, because it has to ride through the whole pulley. Sprockets are simple and cheap, just more maintenance and louder. engine mount sliding plate to adjust the jack shaft chain. So we got the motor to be able to move to tighten the jack shaft chain. Here's where the jack shaft chain needs to be tightened. Here's the slots I made. Here's the motor mount plate, which has, I don't have these bolts accurate yet, but they're just templates. This will fit in here and be able to move just right, just about 1 inch, just to make sure this chain is tightened at all times to the motor. And I'll put a little adjustment screw to push the motor tight right here. The next part is to put the motor here with the chain here, align the motor to here, and weld a tack weld, and then take this off to the welding station to weld the motor brackets here, and then we're done for the motor to jack shaft part. Grinding a spot for the motor stop bolt prevents the motor from moving backwards. This is just an example of how you would move the motor forward to tighten the jack shaft chain. Starting with the battery box, all out of aluminum here. Unfortunately, my welder has been acting up and it will continuously feed wire. So bear with me on the welds. These are just tacks from the outside, real simple, to kind of clamp the plate down, and then I'll actually do the welds from the inside and then grind off these tacks later. I find it sometimes with this real thin gauge aluminum is to pulse weld instead of just continuously welding. Sometimes it just gets too hot and it will protrude through the outside of the metal and cause an unfortunate look for the outcome of the paint or the vinyl coating on the outside. I went ahead and I welded threaded nuts to the frame of the mini bike. Now I have these aluminum tabs going to be welded to the battery box right as we speak. That way a bolt could thread right into the frame and hold the battery up at the same time. I am making now the display mount out of aluminum, marking it where I need to cut it. give it a nice cut, and then round it out for the seat. Just giving it a looks over here to make sure it all would fit. Very gently, again with the pulse welds. I've tested many times, if you continuously weld, it just will eat through both sides of the metal. This is very thin gauge aluminum. Drilling the pilot holes for the instruments. We have the shunt meter, we have the on and off, and we have the pre-charge on and off to main power. Now wrapping it with some carbon vinyl. So this is the batteries I took out of the other bike, and I split them in two so I could fit them properly in the mini bike. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean these tabs here. This is see a negative and that's a positive. And I'll connect, after I clean them with some denatured alcohol. I will then put some carbon grease back on there, since it'll be two different metals to reduce galvanic corrosion. I will take this aluminum plate and make bus bar clamps that will go over these two tabs to connect them back into a series 21S, so 21 in series. And then here's the battery box I made all out of aluminum. That's all waterproof, very light. Waterproof connectors, carbon fiber sleeve. Everything in here is waterproof with silicone. And here's all the parts. So I got my fuse, the shunt that reads to the meter, the BMS. I did not go with the Bluetooth BMS this time. It just would take too long to get. This one, actually, these are really robust. These ones are really good. Just for charging, nothing's going through discharging here. I have all my parameters set in the controller, and the controller will shut down the battery and reduce power as I set it. Here's the maintenance plate, I guess, that goes on the side of the box like that. And then I have a tap here that I will tap threaded holes along this aluminum bar I made, a 1/2 by 1/4 bar I welded inside. Drill holes into this plate here, and then that's how that will be mounted. I got my 4-gauge wire, the lugs, the connector for the on and off, and everything's here. So let's get started. I flipped the battery on its right side. I went ahead and relabeled all the balance leads to make sure they're all correct. So I had 21 cells. I'm just showing you the layout before I put it into the box. This will be the shunt will be on the front. The negative goes in the shunt. The positive goes in the fuse, and the BMS will be on that side. So there's 11 cells here and 10 cells here. So the side that's more shallower, since I need the clearance of the headroom, that's where the bigger stuff goes on. And since the BMS is real thin, that goes on the 11th cell on top, because you don't need much headroom. All right, so we got the battery in, everything's wired. I already did my testing, so it's working great. The BMS is all wired. It's charging right now with the universal charger I made. And this would be everything will be waterproof here. So once we tighten these up, it's all siliconed everywhere. You can't get water in here. This will be your negative out with the charger out, or I guess charger in, negative. And then the positive has the charger spliced right in here. And then this is the shunt on and off to signal the display. And then this is power to the controller. And then this is the parameters to the display. So you could do a test here to see what we're doing here. if you get the positive and just connect it to one of those guys, you should see what we're reading here. It looks around like 8 amps coming in. So it's working great. So now it's time to clean up these wires and put on the maintenance plate on. Let's do that right now.
Hello.
This is my son. This is the mini bike, dude. Check this thing out. Holy moly. Oh man. This thing is so compact and oh, this thing is so much fun to ride. It's like a little mini motorcycle with a little headlight on it. So I plugged it into the controller here, and we got it all. Rex, watch out, man. Come on. So I got it all in here, and I can set all my parameters right through the controller. So we have it at 150 amps max. We could do the flex weakening, the poles, and your display of what's going on currently. So there's no faults going on and so forth. So I got the motor to spin the right direction, and I set the parameters to where I want for safety. Plus the throttle control, you could mess around with some parameters here to make it as touchy as you want. So there we go. Rex, we're gonna end the video. What do you want to say to the people? We don't want to say anything to them? Or are you gonna play with your rope? The next designer is right here. Look at him. Look at him. He's already figuring out a way to ruin my chair. Aren't you? All right, so going over my bridge into the wash, I'm going to keep the background music off so we can hear pure motor sound. The terrain is very up and down, very hard to ride. This mini bike grips and balances really well. It's very impressive. I kind of want some professionals to ride this thing and let loose. You're welcome to email me and if you're local, because I'm definitely not a professional rider. I'm just a dad trying to go fast. Handles soft sand just great. And I remember telling you, yeah, it's ready for the water, the swamps. Let's go hunting. geared just right for off-roading. On the street, you could probably gear it taller. Off-roading, perfect.